Hey, this is Nomad, and this is your daily motivator, your morning motivator. Whenever time you're looking at it, y'all join me as we'll talk about life as I fix the brakes on this car. So, if y'all would, stick around, enjoy this. And I need to go get a jack stand because I don't trust that little jack of mine. I don't have a jack stand, so I'm gonna go get a block. Anyway, stick around, join me on this little adventure. Here comes Helen. Come here, baby. You got a jacket on. All right.
What are you doing?
I'm changing brakes, sweetheart. Come here.
Sadie.
Yeah, she's getting all over. Hey, listen to me. Listen. I don't want you near the car. Back up, Sadie. Here, sit right here. You got to sit down. Sit down right here. Good girl. I'm talking to everybody, and they're in the camera. I know you looked out past. You know how Daddy makes videos sometimes? I'm making a video right now. You want to say hey?
Hey.
All right.
I see some stars.
You see stars? Cool. So this is what life's all about in a lot of ways, and I don't know if this channel is going to end up being a vlog or what, but bottom line is, like I said in the previous video about what does Nomad mean, to be not an ordinary man or a dad. I like the idea of brakes on a car because you know, they stop you. They save your life. They're kind of necessary, right? Well, there's a proverb, and you know, I'm not going to give a disclaimer every single time I do a video. Eventually, people will just learn that these videos are going to always have a biblical context to them. What's
Daddy, you're making me trip on this.
Well, be careful. Watch your steps, sweetheart. I got to have the cords out so I can have light. So, the long and short of it is, brakes are important. I mean, I think every one of us would agree our brakes on the car, making sure they're stopping good, are very important. When I was back in high school, I actually had a moment where I actually wore the brakes completely out. Oh man, these things almost slam out. Let me go get a rubber hammer. Alright, so where was I? Alright, and that's that. So I'm going to pull my rotor off again. This is not a how-to video. I'm just checking my rotor to make sure it's not being chewed up. The rotor looks fine. And I'm going to put a little grease back here just to make sure, because I'm seeing some rust that has developed back there. So I'm going to put some grease there just to make sure. So anyway, let me give it a break and I'll come back and I'll tell you about when I lost my brakes. Alright, so I got a little grease on the inside of the rotor here. A little bit on the inside where the lug nuts are. That'll just help it keep from seizing up. Both my girls are out. Two of my three are outside right now. So I'm about to put the new pads on. Those are the old ones. I'll set this right here so it doesn't hang down. Typically you use a Cclamp to force your calipers back in. But alas, I do not have a Cclamp, so I'm going to have to find an alternative method. Alright, so I had to go borrow a tool, Cclamp, from my neighbor. So, compressing my Cclamps in right now. It's just a matter of using this to screw them back in. And anyway, so back when I was in high school, I had an awesome car, the 1980 Oldsmobile Omega. I'm gonna roll the picture in. So that car, we called it white trash, and the reason we called it white trash because number one, it was white, and you know, it's a white car, and number two, I used to hit trash cans on purpose. Yeah, don't tell my kids. So I didn't treat that car very well because I never expected to keep it. After I'd wrecked my 1980 El Camino, I was very upset about the whole This is a pain in the teeth. I had to drive this thing. I didn't like it, but it cost me $300, so at least I had a car. So I didn't care for it like I should have. And I needed to do a brake job, and my brakes were going out, and they continued to scratch and went past the squealing stage and got into the grinding stage, surpassed the grinding stage, and well, it just kept getting worse and worse. And finally, one day, going down a hill, and I pressed my brake, and it went completely to the floor. And when I say I had no brakes, I mean I had no brakes. And I think it was only by the grace of God that I was actually able to finish my trip and get to my house, where I looked at my brakes, or the lack thereof, and when I stopped and pulled the tire off, literally the brake pad, I'm using the old brake pad to compress the caliper, literally the old brake pad fell completely out. I had compressed it to a point that I blew out the caliper on the back side, on the front driver's side. The back side of my rotor was completely wore slam out. So that cost me more money. The long and the short of it is I definitely learned my lesson. And learned real quick how bad you need brakes in life. Thank God I wasn't hurt. But there's a proverb that the whole point of me getting to this is to talk about this proverb. And it says, it's Proverbs 25, verse 28. It says, like a city that is broken into and without walls, so is a man who lacks control over his spirit. I think a modern equivalent to that would be like a teenage boy in an Oldsmobile Omega. Now, I ain't going to make it that personal, but I think a modern equivalent of that would be like a man going down the road in his car without brakes is a man who doesn't have control over his spirit. Our brakes obviously are used to control our speed and maintain a speed. If we feel like we're getting too fast, they're used for emergencies to stop. They're used to hold us in position at stoplights, traffic maneuvers, and things of that nature. Brakes are very important, just like self-control is. We live in a society that, you you talk about being self-controlled. That is not a popular idea any longer. That is not, kind of goes against a lot of things in our culture, actually. One more little side note. Again, I'm not giving you a how-to. These little ears where your brake pads fit in, put a little grease on those. That reduces a little bit of the travel noise of them squeaking back and forth. So I've got my calipers completely compressed now. And just going back and putting a little grease on those. Don't put grease on your pads. Yeah, don't put grease on the pads. Just put them in those slide guides. That just helps keep down road noise and stuff. And that's going to go bloop, just like that. Make sure that's made all the way up where it's supposed to be. Check. Take the screw and throw it back in. Good if I could see. All right, get one started. So, as I'm tightening up this caliper, just kind of want to reiterate that point again. A city without walls is like a city without walls that is broken into is like a man who has no control over his spirit. So, again, putting that in the modern perspective, a car without brakes is a man who has no control over his spirit. And you can have the nicest car in the world or the crappiest car in the world. If you don't have brakes, you ain't gonna drive it. Or you shouldn't drive it. So, my question for you is what do you not have control in your area, in your life over? For me, an easy place for me to start is right here at home. You know, one of the biggest areas I struggle with in life, one of my hardest struggles. Probably ought to get a torque wrench, but I'm just making them tight. Is my anger. Now, I don't yell and cuss at my kids or nothing like that, or my wife. But what I do struggle with is pitching a royal fit when I'm by myself, complaining and griping. Belly aching and talking negative, and you know, when I'm by myself I use words that language, attitude that I don't normally. You know, when Erin and I were early in our married life, we, you know, right before we got married, we did the premarital counseling, as people always do. But we actually continued that, and we periodically go just talk things out with a third party. And I'm learning that that's probably one of the best things we could have ever done, is to just go talk with a third party, a mediator. And it's been great. My counselor, the guy that we talk with, he has this acronym he uses. He said, you know, the important decisions in life should never be made when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Halt. He said, so if you're any of one of those things, halt. If you're ever hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, it's not the best time to make decisions. And I thought that was really good, because that goes along with that same idea of breaks and stopping, halt, before making those decisions, rash decisions, decisions out of anger or whatever, and to step back, take a moment, breathe, and gotta get the right size. So, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Pretty good advice. Kind of goes along with the theme of breaks. I mean, breaks help you to halt so you don't rear end someone. So I want to challenge you guys. When you have a big decision to make, when you feel yourself being hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and we can discuss each one of those things if you're interested. And I know many of you, I honestly don't expect a lot of comments or even likes on these videos, because, you know, we as men, we're too tough to comment on something like this a lot of times. But I hope that you at least watch it and get something out of it. I want to say thank y'all for watching, but just remember, guys, if you ever find yourself in a bad situation where you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, just remember that proverb, like a man, or like a city without walls that is broken into, so is a man without control of his spirit. Like a car or minivan without brakes is a man who doesn't have control of his spirit. When you find yourself in those tight spots, those tough situations, guys, remember the acronym HALT. Just stop, step back for a minute, get your cool, go eat something to eat, get a nap, whatever you need to do, step back, spend some time in prayer. That's probably a good thing too. And make wise decisions. Let's not be ordinary men and dads, guys. Y'all be nomads, okay? Y'all have a good night. Oh.